What it do? Bedtime crew. Hey man, listen, today I'm here to give you guys my full card predictions and my breakdown for UFC Fight Night Shanghai. Lot of random Chinese NPCs on this card. I will not be breaking out the Chinese casual impression. That's usually reserved for when I've had a couple of Coronas or something like that. But we've still got some decent fights to talk about. Johnny Walker versus Zhang Mingyang in the main event. I wonder who's going to win that. Brian Ortega, dude. It's my time. Fighting Aljamain Sterling. We got Sergey Pavlovich, Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Mudaerji, Kevin Borjas is on the card. Charles Johnson. Lona Kavanagh. Very excited about that fight. And the rest are genuinely nobodies. I'm not even trying to make a joke out of it. There is genuinely people on this card. And I've been watching the UFC non-stop since 2018. I've never seen these fucking people in my life, dude. Let's get into this. Let's fly through the NPC section of this card. We got Uran Sadaboldiev versus Dia Nergozai. I'm going to be picking Sadaboldiev to win this fight by submission. I could see a grappling-based decision as well. I don't feel like lighter man skill is going to be a factor here with Nergozai, who got figured out and out-grappled by Brenson Ribeiro, who is usually just a brawler on the feet, just trying to knock you out. So for Brenson Ribeiro to go in there and just immediately figure out to take you down and submit you, I feel like that doesn't look as good of a loss as Sadaboldiev. He did get outstruck by Martin Buday, but Martin Buday, you could say what you want about him. He's actually kind of decent. Like, he's not bad. He's actually not that bad. He has good takedown defense. He can strike. He has pretty decent boxing. He's just the poster boy of, like, blob NPC heavyweights, but he's not that bad. So I feel like looking at those two fights, Sadaboldiev, he is a little bit older, but that's not really a factor at heavyweight. He's more well-rounded. I think he's going to have a grappling advantage over Nergozai. I feel like Dia is going to be dangerous on the feet, but again, I feel like the grappling is going to be the difference. And big reach advantage as well. I think that the size, the reach, the grappling of Sadaboldiev, he's going to win that fight. But holy fuck, cannot be bothered with some of these fights, man. Next one, we got Long Zhao versus Yu So Young. Yu So Young. And I'm just here to tell you right now, yes, you will be winning this fight by decision. Yu So Young, this guy just spams takedowns. I feel like regardless of how this fight goes, both of these guys are grapplers. And, Long Zhao, he's coming off a knockout win. He's pretty dangerous, but I feel like he is a primary grappler, a lot more aggressive in terms of finishing the fight. Yu So Young, he's more of a positional grappler, way higher output in terms of the takedowns that he shoots in a fight. But I feel like if this turns into, the grappling cancels out and it's a striking fight, Yu So Young, he's a little bit sharper. I think there's a more power advantage towards Long Zhao. But I feel like either way, you look at these guys' records and you look at these guys' careers, they're both decision machines. It's probably going to be a decision. 29-28. I'm just going to say Yu So Young is just more active, shoots more takedowns, does more on the feet. Less power, but more output. And I think that he just a little bit sharper, a little bit more ways to win this fight, a little bit more polished as a fighter, just being a little bit older. So I'm going to say that Yu So Young wins this fight. But, Long Zhao, I like that he's really experienced. A lot of these Chinese prospects are very, very experienced, even while being young. So I'm going to say Yu So Young wins this fight. But I, again, do not give a fuck, all right? Now we're fucking talking. Because Weston Wilson's pulled up to China, dude. Weston Wilson's coming for the fucking money, dude. I'm picking Yizha, dude. I'm picking Yizha pretty confidently, actually. I'm not picking Weston Wilson. And the fact that I have to break down Weston Wilson versus Yizha, oh man, who's gonna win? I don't like that Weston Wilson is like a plus 800 underdog because this Yizha guy is not that good. I don't rate this guy as like, oh my god, man, Yizha, this guy's a problem in the UFC. Like, I don't rate him that highly. But I just have to be honest, he's more well-rounded. He's got better striking defense. He's not 36 years old, with a karate and jiu-jitsu style. Like, I'm sorry, but that just sounds like a recipe for getting chinned. If you pull up and you're like, yeah, I'm a karate-based fighter with the jiu-jitsu game. No wrestling, no boxing, like I'm trying to use karate and jiu-jitsu. You're getting fucked up in the UFC in 2025. And I feel like Yizha, he showed solid grappling, losing to Gabriel Santos. I rate that as a loss. Like, Gabriel Santos looked great against fucking Jack Jenkins, man. You know what I mean? He fucking went out there and fluked a win over Jack. No, he actually low-key pieced up Jack Jenkins. and almost subbed him multiple times and then got the finish. Gabriel Santos is not a bad loss to have whatsoever. And I feel like a lot of people with Weston Wilson, they're saying like, oh, but he's only lost to Gene. So I don't know if anyone's actually defending Weston Wilson, but if they are saying he only lost to Gene Silva and he only lost to, Joanderson Brito. These are not bad losses. That's true. These are good names, but at least Yija, he's going to a decision with Gabriel Santos, who's a rising, dangerous prospect in this division, right? But Weston Wilson, you can be like, yeah, he only lost to Gene Silva and Joanderson Brito. He didn't just lose, he got fucking demolished. He literally got destroyed by these guys. There's nothing in those performances where I'm like, well, hold on, he did take down Gene Silva. No, he just got fucking smashed by these two guys. And I feel like they would do that to a lot of people at 145. So I'm not going to rate that as like, well, he's only lost to these guys. No, he got demolished by these guys. And even in his UFC win against Jeka Sergi, who is not good, let's just say it like it is. This guy lost to Anshul Jubli. He basically had to grapple the entire fight. There was zero he could do on the feet. He had to force, he had to kind of force himself to grapple the entire time. And I feel like Yija just has more ways to win this fight. I feel like he can win exchanges on the feet. I feel like he can force Weston Wilson to be uncomfortable and shoot bad takedowns. And it's really up to Yija, depending on how the fight goes, whether he just disengages from the grappling or just lays on top of him, beats him up. I feel like he has a very nasty submission game as well. There's potential here for Yija to win this fight by submission, but I'm going to say he wins by decision. I think he just beats up Weston Wilson on the feet, defends his, karate man takedowns, and potentially rocks him on the feet a couple of times. But I feel like Weston Wilson has that BJJ ability to kind of, turtle up and not get finished straight away. He can prolong a beat down a little bit. So I'm going to say Yija is not as good as those guys that finished him. He's just going to win by decision, though. Just by being more well-rounded, more ways to win, a little bit sharper on the feet, solid grappling. He's not a complete scrub in the grappling. I'm going to say Yija wins that fight by decision. Next fight of the night, we got Michel Pereira. How's this guy 31 years old? I'm already considering this guy washed as fuck. Versus Kyle Daukaus. What's crazy is, man, like a year ago, I would be like, man, Michel Pereira, this guy's dangerous at 185. I'm genuinely considering picking Kyle Daukaus. I'm genuinely fence-sitting this fight, and I know that's crazy, but really, is it? Like, is it? Like, is it actually that crazy? Because Michel Pereira, he's just not good. He has power. He has good body shots. He has good, submission abilities if he hurts you and you're a complete jobber. But as soon as that doesn't happen, he's just out of cardio, out of grappling, nothing off his back. He has solid takedown defense. He's big. He's physical. I do think he's going to win this fight. I feel like the problem with Kyle Daukaus is he could come into the UFC and beat some of these guys. Even on short notice, I feel like he still has a cardio advantage over fucking Michel Pereira. But all of Chris Daukaus' losses in the UFC, they are against people that are big and physical and dangerous and just explosive. Right? Like most of the time, Kyle Daukaus, he has a size and reach and physicality advantage over his opponents. He's 6'3", he's tall as fuck, he's super well-rounded, got good boxing, good power, really good jiu-jitsu. But against these explosive people like Eric Anders, Roman Dolidze, he just kind of I don't want to say shits the bed, but he just seems obviously jittery. And he does get chinned by these guys. Like again, losing to Eric Anders, losing to Roman Dolidze. I think he has the skills to maybe get to round 2 and get a finish, but I'm going to say that Michel Pereira is pretty similar to those guys. And he has solid takedown defense. Even if he has nothing off his back, it's hard to take him down unless you're Anthony Hernandez. Michel Pereira is pretty solid at defending grappling, even when he's tired. He has explosive power early on. I think he's going to be, aggressive out the gates. I think he's going to overwhelm Kyle Daukaus, And I'm going to say round 1 TKO for Michel Pereira in this fight. But I don't know. I'm interested to see this, bro. Because he's actually he's so shit sometimes I could see him losing this fight. So I'm going to say Michel Pereira wins, but I'm not confident. Next fight of the night. This should be decent. We got Rong Zhu versus Austin Hubbard. I'm going to pick Rong Zhu, dude. This is literally just two fucking brown shirts fighting, bro. Genuinely, I could not care less. I'm going to say Rong Zhu wins this fight by 29-28 decision. I think he's made more improvements than Austin Hubbard in the past couple of fights. Austin Hubbard, let me just read a comment I just got, man. What the fuck, dude? Whatever, dude. Anyways, Austin Hubbard, he's well-rounded. He's a well-rounded brown shirt. He's a solid 60 overall. He has like a solid gas tank, solid clinching, wrestling. No, not really that much of a submission threat. Got submitted by Kurt Holloway. And I don't think his striking is all that. He's just like a well-rounded, good cardio, solid, like, you know, NPC lightweight. So I think that Rong in his performances, especially recently, he's shown more finishing ability, more power on the feet. He has a solid chin. He can go at a pretty high pace and scrap. He's got good takedown defense. And I think that in this fight, he's going to outstrike Austin Hubbard. I think he's going to defend the grappling, put on a pretty solid performance. There is potential for a TKO if he really shows out, but I'm going to say he just wins a CKB decision. I think he's just going to leg kick, piece up Austin Hubbard in the boxing a little bit, defend some takedowns, you know, get clinched up a little bit, break away, start landing some body kicks, and just having a solid, well-rounded striking performance. I rate Rong Zhu's recent performances. Even though he lost to Chris Padilla, that's not that bad of a loss. Yeah, I think Rong Zhu is pretty decent. I think he'll win that fight by decision, all right? This fight genuinely should be on the main card. The fact that this is on the fucking prelims actually annoys me, dude. Because there's like 2 good fights on this card, and this is one of them. And the fact that this is not even the headlining prelim, like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck is this doing on the prelim? I'm picking Lona Kavanagh, and I think this is going to be a fight of the night level matchup. I think this is going to be great, dude. I'm really excited for this fight. I like both of these guys. They're both really, really good. I think that Lona Kavanagh is the future of this division. I'm picking him to win this by decision. I think he has a little bit of that, you know, young prospect plot armor where everyone's glazing him. And I do think that Charles Johnson's a dangerous test. I think he's a little bit of a step up from, you know, Felipe Dos Santos and Jose Ochoa. Even though those guys were dangerous and they do have their threats, you know, Charles Johnson, he does usually win by decision if he's winning, and he just gets on a roll, just starts piecing you up. You know, he's super well-rounded. He's super dangerous. And I think early on he's going to start out aggressive. I think he's going to utilize front kicks. I think he's going to be attacking the lead leg of Lona Kavanagh, using his jab, you know, stepping out, creating angles, trying to go with the 1-2, just trying to be long and rangy and being aggressive. And I think Lona Kavanagh, he can give away a first round. He is pretty patient early on. He is a little bit of a slow starter. And I think that he's just so well-rounded that he's going to win this fight by decision in round 2 and 3. I think he can mix in wrestling. I think on the feet, he has solid boxing, has good power. And I think the difference is when Charles Johnson's on the front foot, he's super dangerous. And I do think he's going to start out really well, but Kavanagh is kind of a slow starter. Like, he starts to make reads and then boom, starts to counter you. Then you're kind of on the back foot. And I feel like once he gets going and ends up in the pocket a lot against Charles Johnson, being the shorter man, being on the inside of the reach and being faster, I think he's going to start to land really good combos in the pocket and then mix in takedowns. Boom. You know, he kind of whips around. You know, Charles Johnson has to play guard a little bit and, you know, starts slapping the ear, starts, you know, threaten some submissions. But I think Lona Kavanagh is so good from that full guard position that it's just going to be a fight in round 2 and 3 of Lona Kavanagh, you know, landing good combos in the pocket, being patient at range, mixing in takedowns, controlling him from the full guard. You know, they have a good scramble. Lona Kavanagh maybe gets to the back. I just feel like he's going to do a good job, as he has in his past couple of fights, of putting Charles Johnson on the defensive and putting him in a range that doesn't really suit him, where Lona Kavanagh's on the inside, able to hit him a little bit quicker just because he's younger and faster and, you know, really sharp in the boxing. I think the biggest, you know, path to victory for Charles Johnson is using long-range weapons like teeps, front kicks, oblique kicks, maybe whipping up some head kicks. I think he's going to land a big right hand early on in the fight. But I think as the fight goes on, Lona Kavanagh is going to be able to mix up ranges a little bit better, get takedowns, just use his fight IQ to win this fight. I think it's going to be a really good fight. Like I said, this should be on the fucking main card, dude. This is one of the only fights I give a fuck about on this card. And I feel like most people that know about this card agree with me that this is probably going to be the best fight of the night. So yeah, Charles Johnson, Lona Kavanagh, make sure you watch that shit if you didn't know that was happening, bro. I feel like Dana White right now. If you don't know, now you know. Headlining the prelims, we got Maheshate versus Gage Young. Mate, fucking Gage Young. This guy had a good scrap with fucking Quillan Sourkield, mate. This guy's a bloody problem. Listen, I really want to pull out the, dude, how good is Quillan Sourkield method and pick Gage Young. But I'm going to pick Maheshate to win this fight by decision. I think that what it really comes down to is he has a big size advantage. He has good survivability, a really good chin. And he can just use kicks and physicality and a little bit of a reach advantage. And I just feel like he's going to outwork Gage Young. I feel like he is more natural of a lightweight than Gage Young. We saw in his last fight against Evan Elder, he kind of just got stuck on the end of like bigger strikes, like just more power. You could just see it made him a lot more defensive. And even against Quillen Salkild, same thing. I feel like Gage Young is super well-rounded. He's really good. He does pressure pretty smartly, but he does get hit a lot. He does get pieced up, and especially when you mix in the kicks against him, and you have a power advantage, which I think Maheshate does have a power advantage in this fight. I think that he's just going to be able to do more. I think he's going to get going with kicks early on, you know, start landing some solid punches up top. Gage Young mixes in some wrestling and pressures a little bit, but I trust Maheshate to just be more physical, just bigger, and make Gage Young a little bit more defensive and just wait for his chance because of the power difference. And I don't think Gage Young has the power of someone like, you know, Slava Claus or fucking Nicholas Moda to chin this dude, right? Like, I think the biggest way to beat Maheshate is you either just have to be, like, able to outstrike him cleanly, which I don't really rate Gage Young that highly to do, or you have to have the power to really put him on the back foot. And he does have a good chin. He can survive being rocked and pieced up a little bit, and he can squeak out a win. So I just think that against Gage Young, who in my opinion probably should be at featherweight, I think Maheshate is going to look just bigger and just more powerful in the feet. I think that's going to be a difference. So for my prelims, I got Maheshate, Kavanagh, Rong, Michel Pereira, Yija, Yuso Young, and Sataboldiev. But man, fucking let me know how the prelims go, bro. I'm watching the Charles Johnson fight, and I'm out of that shit, dude. Opening up the main card. Holy fuck, another random jobber. We got Lake Nurai versus Kiefer Crosbie. I almost want to pick Kiefer Crosbie to win this fight, dude. I'm really considering a crafty Kiefer Crosbie pick here, but I just don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm overthinking this, because I'm looking at this Nurai guy, and I don't like some of the things I'm seeing. Like, he's fighting complete jobbers, like spawned in NPCs on the regional scene. But he does have a big size advantage. I would say the reach advantage is going to help him out a lot, because I think Kiefer Crosbie is a better boxer than him. And I think Nurai has a lot of openings defensively in his boxing from what I've seen of his fights. But I do think that he's big and physical and powerful enough to probably negate some of that shit and just fluke Kiefer Crosbie with something big on the feet. And I feel like in the grappling, he's going to have an advantage. I feel like he's going to be able to submit Kiefer Crosbie. Kiefer Crosbie does have some like solid losses in the UFC. I'm not going to hold that against him too much, losing to Sam Patterson, losing to Kevin Jousset. But it's not just who you're losing to, but it's how you're losing to them, right? Like, it's not one of those cases where Kiefer Crosbie went to war with Sam Patterson, but he lost, right? That's one thing. It is, as soon as it hits the ground, this guy gets submitted in the UFC. That's just what it is. And all of his losses in MMA are the same. So I feel like I'm overthinking this by like, oh, does Kiefer Crosbie win by KO? I think Kiefer Crosbie may be able to piece him up and land something big at one point. He has changed camps. And I do think that going to Extreme Couture is actually going to help him, because he does fit that little Dan Ige NPC boxer, you know, archetype pretty well. I think he's going to have success early on, but I think just based on momentum and age and the size difference, I got to pick Nurai. I feel like he's going to land something big. He is super explosive and super dangerous early on. He does have nasty knees and elbows in close, which I think work against shorter opponents. I'm going to say he lands a big elbow or a big knee or something like that, and then locks up a submission against Kiefer Crosbie. In the second round, maybe third round, I don't rate this guy that highly. I'm not super confident, but I just feel like based on momentum, I've got to pick Nurai. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. Next fight of the night, we got Mudaerji versus Kevin Borjas. I'm picking fucking Kevin Borjas, dude. I don't know why he's mean mugging me like that on his Google picture, but I'm going to pick this guy, man. He looked fucking good in his last fight. Like, I picked against him his last fight. He looked really good. And as a Joshua Van Super Glazer, let me tell you, this guy is one of the best. Like, he did pretty well against Joshua Van. He's one of the best opponents that we have beat in the UFC. He looked really good in his last fight. That's the real reason I'm picking him, and I don't rate Mudaerji that highly. He's kind of low output. He's a little bit chinny. His defense is not good. He just tries to mog you, and he's just not that good at it. He's at flyweight. His last win was like a boring split decision. He just pieced up Mitch Raposo that just switches stances at range, and he's a midget. Kevin Borjas is super aggressive. He's super quick. He has really good calf kicks, good head kicks, you know, lands a really nice right hand every now and again. I think that Kevin Borjas is going to be on the gas from the jump. He's going to be, you know, pushing Mudaerji back. I think Mudaerji, if he opens up, he will get rocked with a right hand. And I just feel like Kevin Borjas has solid defensive grappling as well. In his last fight against Lazy Boy, he did a really good job to not only defend the grappling, but be super active, like just spamming elbows on defended takedowns, you know, pushing a really high pace at elevation. And I think against Mudaerji, he's just going to be more aggressive, higher output, more effective, more sharp, and just more well-rounded. Calf kicks, right hands up top, head kicks, body kicks. I'm going to say Kevin Borjas is pretty well-rounded. I think he wins this fight with his speed, with his power in the right hand. I feel like he's going to land that overhand right and the straight right a couple times. Yeah, I feel like Kevin Borjas is going to win this fight by decision. Yeah, I rate him pretty highly, all right? Now we are finally to the non-NPC section of this card. Featured fight, we've got Sergey Pavlovich, mate. He's a great fighter, you know. He done fucking well, mate. You know, he actually done well against me, mate. He actually rocked me pretty badly, mate, you know. Sergey Pavlovich versus Waldo Cortes-Acosta. If Waldo Cortes-Acosta fucking wins this fight, dude. If I have to see Waldo Cortes-Acosta win this fucking fight, I'm sorry, dude. I'm picking Sergey Pavlovich. I'm worried for him. I feel like this is going to be a close decision. Waldo Cortes-Acosta, I can just see him popping the fucking jab and the calf kicks against Sergey Pavlovich, and that does worry me. But I feel like Waldo Cortes-Acosta, I'm not going to compare him to Jairzinho Rozenstruik, but I will say that Jairzinho Rozenstruik also has a solid jab and good leg kicks. He's kind of low output. I would say Waldo Cortes-Acosta is a little bit more active. He's a little bit more defensively sound in his boxing. But I think that Sergey Pavlovich, with the big reach advantage that he has in this fight, he's going to be able to deal with that jab a little bit better than some of the other people Waldo Cortes-Acosta's fought. Like, Waldo Cortes-Acosta, it's all well and good to style on these fucking... And when I say style, I mean you arguably didn't even beat Sergey Spivak. And, you know, you beat Ryan Spann, and you went to a decision with fucking Andrei Arlovsky. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like Waldo Cortes-Acosta's look good against blob heavyweights, but Sergey Pavlovich is not a blob. He can actually move around. He actually has this thing called footwork. You know, he's kind of quick on his feet. He has good boxing, and I feel like this fight's going to be kind of a boxing match at range. I feel like Waldo and Sergey Pavlovich, with the reach advantage, with his boxing abilities, I feel like he's going to be able to land, you know, counter right hands over the top of that jab. He's really fucking quick with that right hand. He's rocked pretty much everyone he's fought with it. He was landing it really quickly against, you know, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Even though he looked kind of tentative, he was still able to land good shots, mix in his wrestling. I think the grappling of these two is kind of going to cancel out. I do rate both of these guys' ability to kind of stuff takedowns and maybe mix in takedowns when they need to. But against each other, I think this is just going to be who's a better boxer. And I feel like Sergey Pavlovich, against most of these heavyweights, when he has a big reach advantage, he's going to hit you. And he's going to hurt you. So I'm going to say Sergey Pavlovich is a little bit patient, a little bit gun-shy. Waldo Cortes-Acosta kind of jiggling, you know, emoting, looking for his jab. I think he will land it. He will look for the calf kick. But I think that Sergey Pavlovich will be able to counter him with his big right hand, land some hooks, you know, maybe mix up some jabs to the body, get the hands of Waldo Cortes-Acosta down. Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a good fight. And this is another reason why I'm going to say Pavlovich does win this fight by decision. He does have a good chin. He does have a good chin. He got nuked by fucking Tom Aspinall, but in every other matchup, even his worst performance against Volkov, he still showed a really good chin. So I feel like he's going to be able to hang in there for 3 rounds against Waldo Cortes-Acosta. And I think he just has a little bit more power. I think the reach advantage, and I think he is a solid, well-rounded boxer as well. So I'm interested to see how Waldo does against this guy. I think this is a little bit of a step up from fucking Sergey Spivak and Ryan Spann. So I'm going to pick Pavlovich by decision. I think this will be a close boxing match, though. And again, code red if Waldo wins. If Waldo is getting a fucking title shot, close the division. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about the real main event of this card, boys. Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. You may be sitting here going, Bedtime, are you seriously picking Brian Ortega? Are you seriously picking Brian Ortega? I'm here to tell you right now. Dude, obviously, like, bro, like, obviously I'm picking him, dude. It is what it is, dude. Listen, hear me out, bro. Hear me out. Like, seriously, hear me out. I'm picking Brian Ortega by submission, bro. Styles make fights. Styles make fights. If this was a 3-rounder, I'm picking Aljo by 30-27. If this was a 3-rounder, I'm picking Aljamain Sterling to survive 3 rounds. But 5 rounds, this genuinely, like, even Aljamain Sterling is like, why the fuck am I fighting this guy for 5 rounds? I really feel like that benefits Ortega. Especially against anyone. His best rounds are round 3, 4, and 5 most of the time, right? Most of the time, they get tired of doing well against him and he starts to pick up the pace, right? But against Aljamain Sterling, who has no finishing potential whatsoever, I'm sorry, Aljamain Sterling, I think he can out-wrestle Ortega. I think he can out-scramble him early on. He's not going to submit Brian Ortega. He's not going to fucking KO him on the feet. He has no power whatsoever. And I feel like he's not even confident in his striking enough to consistently outstrike Brian Ortega. I think he's going to have to consistently shoot takedowns and, you know, out-scramble, you know, submission attempts for every single round. And I feel like there is a possibility he could do that for 5 rounds, but I don't know, something about his last performance, the more I rewatch it, the more I'm like, his cardio is actually dropping off. And the Evloev fight, there's a lot of positions where it's not even that high pace. There is a lot of good scrambles in that fight and a lot of wrestling from Aljamain Sterling, but there's a lot of positions where Aljo gets a takedown and he just holds. And as soon as there's a scramble, he just looks tired at the end of it. And I feel like in all of his fights, Aljamain Sterling does take his foot off the gas when he's fighting a 5-rounder. Against Jan, he comes out super aggressive. He starts to slow down. He looks really tired in round 3 and round 4. Against Jan in the second fight, he wins the first 3 rounds. Then he kind of slows down a little bit. Round 4 and 5 starts to drop off. You know what I mean? And Brian Ortega is the opposite. Brian Ortega's weakness, in my opinion, is somebody that can really damage him badly. Like Diego Lopez had him out on his feet, and he's just out of it for the rest of that fight. Or they have danger of finishing him at all times. Like Alexander Volkanovski's gonna beat the fuck out of you. He's always spamming big punches, ground and pound. You're never getting a rest. You're never getting them slowing down. Volkanovski builds, and he's better than Ortega. He's winning that fight, right? But for Aljo, I feel like Aljo has every tool to beat Ortega, but I actually don't think he has the tools to consistently for 5 rounds beat Brian Ortega without slowing down. He uses so much physicality, and I feel like Brian Ortega has a cardio advantage. I feel like he has a little bit of an edge on the feet in terms of his boxing. He hits harder on the feet. He actually has knockouts on the feet, unlike Aljamain Sterling. I think Aljo is a more kick-heavy striker, really good wrestler, really good ability to hold people down, get to good positions. But at featherweight, he has shown that he slows down from heavy scrambling and from people that resist against what he wants to do. And you're never going to be comfortable taking down Brian Ortega. You are going to be scrambling to try and get to a good position, right? And I feel like in this fight, another thing that goes against Aljamain Sterling, especially in a 5-round fight, is he will force things to happen if he feels like the fight has stalled out. He will take you down and control you in a perfect position, and then he hears the crowd start booing, or he hears, you know, he feels like, you know, he's not doing any damage, because he doesn't really do damage when he takes you down. He usually just holds you down, right? Like that Evloev fight, the difference between why Evloev won and why Aljo lost was because Aljo got big takedowns and out-scrambled him, but then he would just hold him. And then when Evloev would reverse position or threaten a choke or something like that and end up on top, Evloev is throwing little punches and doing damage, and that's what won him the fight. And Aljo slowed down in that fight over 3 rounds. So I feel like in this fight, there's gonna be moments where it stalls out from Aljo ducking under a punch, taking down Brian Ortega. I think he'll get pieced up on the feet in the boxing. You know, if he stays at range with the kicks and then mixes in takedowns, it's going to be a little bit harder than he thinks. But I think if they box, that's the time for Aljo to kind of get hit with 1 or 2 big shots. Ortega has nice elbows on the feet, good uppercuts, good jab, solid pressure on the feet. You know, he has good survivability if he's rocked. I think Aljo is going to like stand for a little bit and then mix in takedowns. But I feel like there are going to be spots where he's holding Ortega and then he does something to kind of make a scramble. And that's when Ortega can get a reversal or threaten a submission. And I feel like there's going to be scrambles where Ortega can find the neck. There were so many exchanges in the Movsar Evloev fight where he puts his neck to the outside over the hip to chase a double leg or a single leg. And Evloev literally wraps up his neck so many times in that fight. There's so many times where Aljo almost gives up his back doing dumb shit in these scrambles as he's slowing down in round 2 and 3. And I feel like Brian Ortega's so wiry. He's so smart in these scrambles. As soon as you give him an inch, bro, he's on your neck. He's trying to sub you. He's getting on top. He's getting on your back. You know, even against Yair Rodriguez 2 fights ago, he showed that ability to just cockroach his way through the grappling. As soon as you give him an inch, he's going to end up on top. He's going to end up looking for a submission. He's going to end up, you know, sweeping you or trying to pass your guard or something like that. And I feel like as the fight goes 5 rounds, Aljo uses so much explosive energy when he fights because he's so muscular and he cuts so much weight. He's going to slow down as the fight goes on, especially because Aljo kind of has to grapple to win this fight. He's not this elite striker. He throws a high output of kicks, but he doesn't have power. He doesn't have solid boxing. He doesn't really seem confident in his striking at all. And against Ortega, I feel like he's going to start to get pressured. He's going to start to get tagged up. And as the fight goes on, he will land big takedowns. He will out-wrestle Ortega, but these are all going to sap at his energy. And Brian Ortega is going to get better as the fight goes on. And especially once Ortega starts finding space to get reversals, you know, scramble, you know, threaten submissions, I think Aljo will kind of slow down like he did in the Evloev fight. And I just see in round 4 or maybe round 4, maybe late round 3, I think Ortega at some point in a scramble is going to latch up Aljo's neck. Like Aljo's going to, you know, end up on bottom. The crowd kind of goes crazy. Aljo tries to wrestle up straight away. Brian Ortega either locks up a guillotine or, he kind of gets a reversal from Aljo looking for a quick sub attempt or something like that from a good spot where he's just holding, being inactive. He looks for a sub or something like that. Ends up on the bottom. Boom. Ortega's on his back. So I'm going to say Brian Ortega just because he has better cardio. He's built to go 5 rounds a lot better than Aljo, just physically. Like, people are making fun of his physique. First of all, he looks way better this camp than he did for the Lopez fight. That's number one. If you've seen his physique leading up to this fight, he looks in way better shape. That's number one. He's always going to have better cardio than most of these guys at featherweight. But number 2, I feel like he's better on the feet in terms of his boxing and his power. He doesn't really have to respect the striking of Aljo that much. I think Aljo is going to do well with the kicks at range, but once they get into that boxing range, I think Aljo is going to start shooting and having to really use a lot of energy to scramble and hold down Ortega to not give him space. And as the fight goes on, we've seen Aljo give up his neck in a lot of scrambles and get reversed and slow down and take his foot off the gas when he gets to round 3, 4, and 5. I think in one of those rounds, something's going to happen where Aljo ends up in a bad spot and he's a little bit tired, and Brian Ortega latches up the neck, gets a guillotine or gets a rear naked choke, maybe doesn't even need the hooks in, maybe puts one hook in as he's got the choke, and we're going to see a Brian Ortega upset submission, round 3, 4, or 5. The eagle is fucking back, babe. And then he will get absolutely schooled by someone in the top 5. But that's neither here nor there. I'm picking Brian Ortega. He's also younger than Aljo, so I feel like statistically speaking, Aljo should be falling off, not Brian Ortega. I'm picking T-City, dude. I don't give a fuck, man. Main event. Dude. Man, this is a tough one. I'm picking Zhang Mingyang by round 1 knockout. I don't even rate Zhang Mingyang. I was literally considering, and I feel like I'm not even wrong about this. I feel like Prime Anthony Smith beats this guy. I feel like Prime Anthony Smith would have beat Zhang Mingyang. I do not expect Zhang Mingyang to be this elite light heavyweight. I expect him to lose to a Rakic or a Uzdemir or a fucking Blachowicz or somebody like that. I think he beats Jamahal Hill at this point, but all these other guys above him, I'd pick Murzakanov to chin this fucking guy. I expect Zhang Mingyang to lose at some point soon, but I don't think it's going to be Johnny Walker, dude. Johnny Walker is chinny as fuck. I don't even feel like I need to explain this in a technical. I don't need to be like, mate, the outside foot battle of Zhang Mingyang. Oh my days, this guy's an absolute maestro in the feet. It's not even that. It's just Johnny Walker has no defense. Like his defense is offense and physicality, or just leaning back with his chin up. So I feel like if he mixes in his grappling, it'll get interesting. But even then, I just think he's so chinny. He just has no momentum whatsoever. This is clearly just the UFC trying to get Zhang Mingyang a big ranked win by knockout in the main event of a fight card. And I see this going similar to the Uzdemir fight. I feel like he's going to come out throwing some random bullshit, trying to throw some front kicks, trying to throw some jumping knees, some spinning back fist, shit like that. And then just not being able to stop the pressure of Zhang Mingyang. Zhang Mingyang just kind of smiling at him, walking forward, landing some jabs, kind of rocking him a little bit. And I think as soon as Zhang Mingyang puts you up against the fence, you are fucked. Especially if your name is Johnny Walker. So I'm going to say Zhang Mingyang puts him up against the fence, knocks him out bad with a fucking right hand. I think Zhang Mingyang also has slick body work that I think could set up a finish or put Walker on the defense. Like, I could definitely see him landing a, one thing that Oezdemir did really well to finish Johnny Walker was he landed a couple of really hard jabs to the body that made Johnny Walker kind of back up a little bit and not just blindly try and pressure him, right? Like, it's not just, I just have to move my head. Now he's like, that fucking hurt. So he backs up a little bit, boom. Then he's blocking low, he gets hit up top. So I'm going to say Zhang Mingyang lands some hard jabs to the body, kind of smiles at Johnny Walker when he throws some bullshit. The crowd kind of oohs and ahs. And then at some point, Johnny Walker will end up against the fence and get finished brutally with a right hand in the first round. Probably 4 minutes into the fight, 4 minutes right before the, 4:30 mark. Yeah, I'm picking Zhang Mingyang by knockout. I'm not going to overthink this. If he loses to Johnny Walker, this guy is genuinely fucking cooked. But yeah, I'm going to say Zhang Mingyang wins this. These are my predictions for UFC Shanghai. Let me know your opinions on this masterclass of a fight card in the comments down below. If you agree, if you disagree, let me know in the comments. Make sure you guys drop a like if you're part of the T-City Eagle fucking army. And yeah, man, go follow me on Instagram and Twitter for my live reactions to this. I will not be able to watch this card or do a video about it. I'm busy as fuck, so unfortunately, there will not be an immediate reaction video, but go follow me on Instagram and you guys will see my reaction to all the things on the cards that happen. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.